Welcome everyone that's joining us on Zoom. An exciting week. We're going into Rosh Hashanah this week. So the emphasis I was planning tonight, we should do a Maimah Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanah Shcholis B'Shabbos. I'm sorry. I got carried away today because in the sugya that we're doing, I got a little carried away. I got a little excited about something. And the Moyach Shememase, sometimes when you're into something, so every year there's certain minhagim we do. But if you're ready in the sugya, might as well. That's the time to. Every minig Yisrael has a oimek and lefnimi oimek, but when you're already in the sugya, you see it. So let's read a little bit over here. Page Ayin Tes. Just start all the way from the top. He talks about Yehid Otzen. The Gemara says in Krisis about eating certain foods in the Rosh Hashanah that show for that show that there is a that there is a schus here. And we'll talk about this one. The minhag Chabad is to eat it in middle of the in the meal, that after you make a moitzi in the beginning of the meal, and only say Yehid Otzen on the apple dipped in honey. And Yehid Otzen shtachat shlan shana tovim sukkah. But we also eat other foods that have a good remes. Carrots is merin. We should. In Israel, my sister showed me last year that all in Israel they should eat kol arabi. Shenishma kola shel arabi. Yeah. Huh? Kol arabi. Yeah. Shenishma kola shel arabi. So I said that. We eat all kinds of foods that have a siman toiv, shiyel rosh, lanazona, v'chulu. There's a lot of different kehillas, different minhagim, but the Gemara in Krisus says that we eat things for a good siman. But the minhag Chabad L'Poil is that we only say the Yehid Otzen on the apple. We only make the Yehid Otzen on the apple, and in a Boifen Shal Guzma, we'll see in a minute. That there was a story that the Rebbe asked, how come they're not putting the pomegranates on the table? So he waited till they brought the pomegranates on the table, and he made Boide Pri Ha'etz on the apple, and but why not on the pomegranate? The Kaf HaChaim is the other way around. So we're going to get to that then this year, and I have what I think is a beer nifla from Sicha that is a different, but connected to here. But then that's L'Poil the Chabad Minig, and that's what I want to talk about. Why is it that the apple stands out? We do maybe 10 things that night as a siman toiv, but the first thing we do is we make a bracha by the Pri Ha'etz, and then Minig Chabad noch is to say Yehid Otzen before you eat, which even the Alter Rebbe says in the L'Choyer it's a hefsek, but L'Poil that's the Minig Chabad to say the Yehid Otzen, and then to eat the apple. But the other things we don't say Yehid Otzen. We don't say it. But we eat kohlrabi, and we eat apple, and we eat the carrots, and we eat the head of the fish, and the chulu. We eat all kinds of things that are siman toiv. Yeah. Okay. So let's read quickly a few nekudas over here about the minhagim of these fruits that we eat l'siman toiv. Look at Ois Kuf Mem. That's what the Rebbe wrote, and that's the way it's in Koil Chabad. Luach Koil Chabad is there is an organization called Koil Chabad. In Israel, there's a lot of organizations that at tzedakah. Koil Chabad is probably one of mamish the oldest tzedakah organizations in Israel because it started by the Alter Rebbe. There are other old organizations, whatever, Sokas Remei Balanes, they all have that general name. But Kol Chabad is very active, and it's been around, Baruch Hashem, for 200 years. So one of the things how they used to raise money is to make a luach. And they used to send it all over the world. And then the shuls used to send money from the pushkas to buy this luach. So they used to make a very nice luach. Now they started printing it very nicely. If you see next to my stand, I have a book. They charge $10 for it, or you can get the big. We have to really get it for the shul. A big chart. That's why it's called a luach. It used to be in the shuls. The little book is only something we have last year's. But we got to get this year's. So I'll go into Judaica store tomorrow. Shalom does it? Okay. If Shalom doesn't do it, I'll try to do it. So to get that thing is a funny thing because this is like been the Chabad shuls like 125 years ago. It's like they send the money and they get the luach. Lately they started this booklet. The emissaries, tell a story of Reb Chaim Brisker. They had a Talmud. Was the Agonots, and he gave him a smicha, and he went to be a Rav in a shtot. Before he left, he went to his Rebbe, so he gave him a maton, he gave him a luach. Not a luach, but whatever, he gave him a luach. He said, when you're going to come to your town, what do you think? They're going to ask you right away, a shaila, Maseches Krisis, or Bechoides, somewhere. A woman is going to come straight over and ask you, Sashaila, when is the first day of Pesach this year? And it's not Maseches Chulin. And the Rav doesn't know when's the first day of Pesach this year. It's bullshit. So I'm giving you the luach. The Rebbe spoke an entrance thing. The Rebbe spoke in the Yatoshin Beis before the year when the Rebbe used to say. The Rebbe said that everyone should buy a copy of the Luach Kol Chabad because they have, like every Shabbos, you say Avarachim, you don't say Avarachim, all kinds of minhagim. So this Luach originally was written by the Avram Chaim Noah. It's not Stam, a secretary that was working in the office. It's a großer Goen. And then his son took over. And then his grandson, I think now his great-grandson is doing it. So obviously every year it has to adjust. But I mean, this Kriyas, they don't have to write new things. There's no new Kriyas now. They just have to, go back and they go on the computer, go back which Kriyas, and then they change a few words here and there. And then everything is set. So I'm just giving you this Hakdama. Number one, so you should understand what's this idea with this Luach Kol Chabad. This is my Zayda. My mother's father ran the shul. That shul that they got from the joint. They got that text. They got it from the joint. When they came out of the DP camps, and he was the shamish and the gabbai and the shul and the balkoida. And he made sure every Elul, beginning of Elul, he sent the money from the Pushkas to Kol Chabad, and he hung up the sign. The Rebbe spoke about it. That's important to have the luach because it's small minhagim, and then we forget. Anyway, back to here. The first night of Rosh Hashanah, he says there that the Rebbe wrote him a letter that we always make the bracha first in the tapuach. It doesn't matter even if there's other fruits from the Shiva Saminim, which is a chidush l'chayra. It's not against the halacha. It's a machloikis, a complicated suga, machloikis, Yehuda Chachamim, and when somebody's trying to pass him one way and the other, and the Shulchan says you can do whatever you want, pass however you want. We give up, do whatever you want. But as long as both are equal to you, but over here, maybe the pomegranate is more equal. No, because the minig is, and the siman toiv is better to have the tapuach first. Why is the taka better to have the tapuach first? Why is that a siman toiv? Why is the taka better? Eichin teisi, that's better. Eichin teisi, that's better. Why is that better? Huh? Oh, because there's a song, the apple and the honey. But there's a siman toiv also with the pomegranate. Malayim schuyas, malayim mitzvahs. Look at next paragraph. My serav the kved kushas ad morzi yash balal rishon rosh hashana the shnas tov shalam bikesh yagish rimonim l'shulchan himten achivim v'rakos beirach latapuach v'achloi. Like minahepach alahepach. Why did he do that? Understand why he did that. He waited for the pomegranates to come to the table because otherwise you would have to make a bracha she'en tzricha twice for no reason. And even if he had in mind, and it's good enough, but the other people at the table might not have in mind. So therefore he asked they should bring it on the table. Okay, I understand. That I understand. Because the Pashas, everyone that was at the table, he was making the bracha, and probably they were even yotza his bracha. And they didn't know there's pomegranates in the kitchen, not whatever. So yes, they should bring it on the table. But why taka? He says, B'sidai Ariza Alisa Shenogam Lechel Tapuchim V'Dvash Miyad Acher Kiddush, whatever, Baruch V'Ech Lacher Mirotzen. Why is it taka that's what we do? So then this is tonight I really wanted to focus more on the next shtickle, but since we're already here, so let's stop and we'll talk about this. So again, we do the first night of Rosh Hashanah, the Gemara says we do things l'siman tov. We do a lot of things. Harful, Simmers, Rosh Dog, we do, and every family does funny things. Latmias Atenoikis, funny things that you do to get the kids excited and involved, and it's fun. But the thing that even if there is a riman on the table, we make the Beire Priyates and the Tapuach, and the Tapuach is first. Why? Why the Tapuach before the riman? And why the Yirotzen only on the Tapuach, Laminik Chabad? Other minhagim have say Yirotzen on everything, but okay. So there's a Sicha that once the Rebbe spoke about. There's a machlokes with Rashi and the Ramban about the me'il of the Kohen Gadol. Funny thing is that 2 years ago they found that in Yerushalayim a me'il, a thing that they thought was from the Rimonim on the me'il of the Kohen Gadol. The pasuk says that there was al basis al shulei rimonet cheles upamen zov besoicha. Rashi says it doesn't mean that in the rimoin there was a pamoin. There was a rimoin and a pamoin. A rimoin and a pamoin. 36. A rimoin, a pamoin. Rimoin. Okay, the Ramban doesn't like that. And the Ramban says, Imkain, lo rimoin misham shem klum. The rimoin is for what? Why is the rimoin there? It's Lanoi, if it's for niceness. Yasa tapuch izov. So all the Mephoshim said, which one? The Ramban woke up on the wrong side of the bed. What happened? What's the difference if it's tapuchim or rimoinim? They're not talking about real apples or real pomegranates. We're talking about little things in gold, little chiquito things in gold that's hanging in the bottom of the me'il. Now, if you call it a tapuach or a rimoin, if you show a picture to someone of that piece they found, it's a round piece of gold. I don't know what it is. That's what I'm saying. We know that it's called a rimoin. But if you told someone that this was a tapua, they know the difference. That's what the Torah. No, the pamoin is the bell. The bell. He has a different shita. He holds that in the round thing, the bell was in the round thing. Rashi holds that there were round things, they're called rimonim. That was just lanoi for beauty. And then there were bells. Two different things. There were rimonim and bells. One. So, no, we don't. We found one. They have to find to see it. Right. Did this have it? Right. Okay. And did it have a rimoin inside of it? I mean, a bell inside of it? That sounds like Rashi. Right. So then it's more like Rashi, because the Rashi holds that the rimoin was a rimoin. Then there was a pamoin separately. And but besoicha doesn't mean that the pamoin was betoicha rimoin. It means that in between. The Ramban holds, no. The Ramban holds that the pamoin was in the rimoin, inside. Okay, so it's more like Rashi, what they found. Because that's what the pasuk says. That pasuk says, "Vasis al shulav rimoine techeles upamoine zov besoicha." So he said besoicha means inside. Rashi says no. Yeah. Hema you Ken. יכול להיות שבוע. כן? זה 2000 שנה. כן. זה. כן. אוקיי. אתה צודק. אפשר לעשות אקס-ריי ולראות אם יש משהו בפנים. אם זה חלול, אם יש משהו בפנים. אם זה חלול ואין שום דבר בפנים, גם אז יכול להיות שזה יצא. אבל אם זה מלא ואין שום מקום בפנים, אז זה ממש, okay. So the Rebbe goes into a whole thing. First of all, why it was important that they should have bells in the bottom? The Ramban says it was like knocking on the door. You don't just go in. The Kohen Gadol has to make noise before he comes in. But on Yom Kippur, he wore Big Day Lavan. Why? Because now he's a Ben Bayis with Rabbanan Shalom. You don't have to knock on the door. But according to that, it's not a chelik and avoida. It's just like a knocking on the door. The Rebbe said a shot like this, that the Kohen Gadol has to bring every Yid in with him. And there's two types of Yid. There's the quiet Yid and the Yid that makes a lot of noise. Who's the quiet Yid and who's the Yid that makes a lot of noise? The story of the Baal Shem Tov. That once the Mesnagdim asked the Baal Shem Tov, why is it when the Chassidim they daven, they make tenuas mishunas? By us, they daven mesuder, nice, and by Chassidim they make tenuas mishunas. So the Baal Shem Tov said, I'll tell you a marshal. A person is drowning. He's screaming and he's making tenuas mishunas. Is someone going to say, he's crazy? Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. No one's going to say anything. He's drowning. He's drowning, so he's screaming for help. He's not going to say, talk. Take it easy. Don't talk like an animal. Why are you making such tenuas? You wouldn't say such a thing. It's the story that Alter Rebbe said that tshuva is like the Goya's shklov. Get the word in Russian. Shklov, city, Shklov in Litva was a Shklov. So there was a famous story then that there was a goy who tried to be a cowboy, and the rivers were already starting to melt. In the winter, they're frozen. You can walk in it, and it was starting to melt. So he took a boat. They said no. There's ice. You can get stuck with ice. He said, no, good. I know how to handle it. And once he was deep in the water, he got a knock with the ice and he fell out of his boat and he couldn't catch himself and he started to drown and he started screaming. Alter Rebbe said, whatever he said in Russian, he said, you're right. So that's true. That's true. The person realized that this is the Olam Haza is all sugar coated, but this is. But the Rabban Shalom is right. The sugar is nothing. The poison is poison. So the Baal Shem Tov said, back to the story of the Baal Shem Tov, that you're not going to blame someone for making tenuas mishunas when he's drowning. He's drowning. So when a Yid feels that when a Yid feels that he's far from the Rabban Shalom and he's davening and he's making tenuas mishunas, so you can't blame this Yid for making tenuas mishunas. The Rebbe is moisif that even if he's talking not a balaveda, but the neshama is far from where it needs to be in the dveikus and the Rebbeinu Shalom. Even like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, tzaddik that has tchilul rechim, it's not the way the neshama was in Gan Eden. And there's a yeshus, a person. So Mamela, when a Yid realizes that, so he starts making tenuas mishunas and davening. So you can't blame him. I think it is that Baal Tshuva makes tenuas, arash. Shenkein tzaddik is called mamadaka, because he's not feeling so far. He could also do tshuva when he starts realizing when he's far. But, his own way. No, but if he's not doing tshuva, now he's just doing avodas tzaddik, so it's quiet. It's quiet. But tshuva makes a lot of noise. It makes a lot of noise. So when it comes to Yom Kippur, he didn't have the dark of tzaddikim. So the Kohen Gadol goes in quiet. But all year, he can't just go in with the tzaddikim. He has to bring in the Balei Tshuvas. He has to go in with a kol Rash Gadol. Like the Yidden that are davening with a kol, he's bringing it. Avodah Satfila, this Avodah Beis HaMikdash. He has to come with the Rash Gadol. The Rebbe says that's the machloikas of the Rashi and the Ramban. The Ramban says he's just like knocking on the door. But if really you would say that it's Lanoi, he's taking it in, so then it should be Tapuchim. Why Tapuchim? There's two types of Jew. There's a Rimen Jew and a Tapuach Jew. Tapuach Batzei Yar brought in all the Medrashim and Chassidus and Kabbalah. Tapuach Jew is a tzaddik. Kitzur. Tapuach Jew is a tzaddik. A Rimen Jew is a Jew that the outside he doesn't look like a tzaddik at all. If you open him up, Malay Mitzvahs Kiriman. But the outside, he's not a tzaddik. But if you got to open him up, you dig a little bit, you see that really is very juicy in the inside. So there's a Rimen Yid and a Tapuach Yid. So Ramban says that Ramban, which is Pnimis HaTorah, he sees every Yid like a tapuach. He says if it's Lanoi, so Yasa Tapuchim. Why they mind him? But Rashi says, in Pshat, when you look at some Yidden, they're not a tapuach Yid. They're a Riman Yid. And after we have to bring them into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Rebbe spoke about that at that time when it started the mitzvah tanks. People were complaining about this thing. Trucks, music. So the Rebbe said that it's like the bells that the Kohen Gadol, that sometimes the avodah making Balei Tshuva involves making noise. Just like Luma said that today the Kol HaMoina Shel Roimi is when you want to make a big noise. That's the derech. Make a splash, the media, the hulu, in the streets. You make a parade. So the kedusha has to be zelu mazeh. That's the way business has to be done in the 21st century. In order to make balei teshuvos, we have to send out trucks with big noise, and that's the way to do it. It's funny because my brother-in-law has his full-time occupation is he takes care of the mitzvah tanks, Morty Hirsch, and he's terrific at doing this. He's very but now when there was before Pesach, it wasn't shaykh b'chal. So he had a whole bunch of trucks LED that they have from Alazaiden, and he had messages, colorful messages about the mefzoim, and like encouraging to have video about bitochen. I don't know. He had already his spiel, and they went all around Manhattan. They went around certain places in Brooklyn, and even though they couldn't do, but they made a koyraj godel with these trucks. It got a lot of positive media too, because obviously all the messages on the trucks were positive. It's not about COVID, schmovid, not about dying, chas v'shalom, narishkeit. It was about betochen, about emunah, about the Rebbeinu Shalom, about mivtzoim, whatever the messages were, they were all positive. We got nice media attention. So, right, exactly. That's exactly it. So the Rebbe says that's the inyan of the machlokes of Rashi. Rashi looks at the Yidden, and Rashi holds that the meal was to bring the Yid inside, and we have to bring the Rebbeinu Yid inside. The Ramban said no, it's like knocking on the door, and if it's to bring the Yid inside, all the Yidden are really tapuchim. Okay, let's put this aside for a second. If you want to indulge me with a little bit of funny drush, you can argue, but the Sicha v'chizak, this is Todas Emes. Now I'm going to tell you my funny little drush for Rosh Hashanah. So when it comes to the night of Rosh Hashanah, we want to do everything with Siman Tov. So like some Sefer says, we learned this morning, Egois shows that a Yid, even if it's in Tinuf, but if you open it up, he's clean. But Rosh Hashanah, we don't want to talk about that. A Yid in Golus. Well, the Yid doesn't belong in Golus. A Yid belongs in Yerushalayim Mir HaKodesh. We don't want to talk about that. I say Simei Tshuva, we'll talk about that. Rosh Hashanah, Siman Tov, we're not talking about any Golus. Even if he's in Golus, if you look deep, he's clean. We don't want to, that's not, the Siman Tov means, same thing here. When it comes the night, the first night of Rosh Hashanah, we want to do a Siman Tov. What's a Siman Tov? Apple. The apple is Ketapuch Ba'atzayar. Every year is an apple yid. And not only is an apple yid, it's noch dipped in honey. After that, we'll bring the pomegranate or Malam Mitzchus and talk that really the pomegranate has 613 mitzvahs or holy mitzvahs, whatever, and all the other things. But the Ikarat Gosh is in the apple. And Takazoi, with the minig is that we don't say after the first night of Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because the tzaddikim are nichtav v'nechtam alter. So the Siman Tov is only the first night. So the first night we say all the Yidden are tapuchim b'dvash. Yirotzen shetachad shalom Hashanah Tov v'msuke. All the Yidden are tapuchim. All the Yidden are dvash. That's it. But after that, behemshich, we bring out also all the other things. But the ikir thing, even though the riman is from the Shivas HaMinim and has a chashivas, but when it comes to the remes of what we want to accomplish the night of Rosh Hashanah, we start with the tapuach. Every Yid is a tapuach. Every Yid is a tapuach b'dvash. Okay, later we bring out also the riman. Even if you think that a Yid is a riman, you should know he's very juicy and he's mola mitzvahs. That's not how we start. So the din is taka that when you have a riman and an apple, if the apple is more chaviv to you, you have the option. If you want, you could do the apple first. And over here, we want to do the apple first because we want to be merames or a remez for Siman Tov. So that's why we do this first. So if my shot is good, it's like no, it's an insult because why are you telling me? He is already every Yid, we assume every Yid is already all sealed and signed. He's happening now because he wants to get deeper in Vekas, but he's already sealed and signed. That's why the first night, we only do Siman Tov the first night. We don't do the Simonim on the second night. Second night, in regular years, you do fruits for Shechayonu. This year is Zoy. This year, so for Shofar, we don't have a problem. For Shofar, we don't have a problem. because usually the Shachionu, the second day in Shofar, you have to have a beged to make Shachionu. So this year, the Shachionu on the Shofar, you don't have a problem.
It's the first time.
Yeah, because you're only doing one time Shofar, so you have not a problem. Okay. Maybe should help from Taka.
So again, so what is
The apples are the yid that's a tzaddik.
No, I'm saying it's when we say beyond the second day.
Yeah, so I'm saying that when it comes to fruits, the first night, the fruit, right? That's the pashtus. In the first night, the fruits that we're eating is for simon toiv. That's why pashtus we're eating it in the meal, because the Gemara says that in the meal you should eat things of simon toiv. So first you wash, you start eating, and then you bring out the things for simon toiv. Second night, the fruit is for because you made Shechiyonu Kiddush, and there's all shaila because the 2 days are really one day, and you already said Shechiyonu. So therefore, it makes sense that before you wash and before you start the Suda, that you should make a Boide Priya Eitz on or Boide Priya Dam or whatever Shechiyonu you found. And then noch eat, the best thing is to eat a kazayis and then break a bracha chorona and then go wash for the meal. That's the second night, right? Yeah. I was just saying that for the shofar this year we get a discount. You don't have to buy a shechiyonu, but it's true. It's better. Okay. So David shall help from Taka that this year should be a Shana Teva Sukkah, apples and honey. Okay, so we're ready on the page. So another few inyonim that are related to our sugya. An interesting shaila. Bidvar birchas boide priyaich morchem b'leil rosh Hashanah al tapuach mosuk b'dvash. Yesh na pluk tem pateres al birchas boide priyaich shel kinuach suda. וזה נוהג כבוד קדושה זה אדמור מרץ לחוון שלא לפטר במחוס על התפוח גם הסכינו חסודה ואם מבורך שייניס. A little bit misquoting the Sicha, and that's why they have a kasha here. They're saying that the Frierdiker Rebbe said that the Fedish had in mind not to be yoitza fruits. There's a shot here. It's not, depends what you're having for dessert. If you're having pecan pie, then no, that you asked. Okay. If you're having pecan pie, you're not part of this shaila because pecan pie is in a crust of dough that's baked together. It's chamazonis, so not going to be part of my shaila tonight. But if you're having, I like pecan pie. Yeah. That's what he asked. So he said this morning that the pashtus egoism means everything. But the point out that ever saw is only egoism beluzim. Egoism beluzim is walnuts and hazelnuts. Walnuts and hazelnuts. Some say egoism really means almonds. Well, so don't put it in. Walnuts and hazelnuts.
Just only for Rosh Hashanah, right?
Only for Rosh Hashanah. Only for Rosh Hashanah. The pecans. But if you're going to have for dessert, fruits, cut up fruits or kompot. So the apple dipped in honey is 8, and the kompot and the fruits is 8. So you make 1 8 or 2 8. That's the shaila. So here they write that the Frierdiker Rebbe said, one is at the beginning of the meal, one at the end. So should you make 2 8s or 1 8? That's the question. So they say that the Frierdiker Rebbe said that when he ate the fruit in the beginning, he had in mind the fetish not to pata the rest, and therefore it was fine. Then they ask Akasha. It says, second night is not a puch b'dvash. I don't understand what's going on. The guy writes. I never see what's the plukta and what's the kavona. Should have in mind. He brings like this. That's really what you're supposed to do. Rishim is kavod kedushas atmoir ziyah manhogas kavod kedushas atmoir rayats. Shnas tofresh tzadikalu. Birchas beide priet shal tapuch machavan loitzi gama kampot. Sefer Sichas Tavshin Hey Nemar. I never knew what kampot. I didn't know really what kampot was. Kampot. My mother never made her kampot. But I had Yid. I was a survivor, and he didn't speak much. So one day he used to collect fruits from the garbages. He used to collect fruits. He used to go to the grocery stores. When he died, he had an account. He had an unbelievable amount of money. But he lived, whatever it was on Nebuch, he lived through Mama Shiva Gedurim, Gehenim Shalmaila V'Shalmata. So one day, he knocks on the door in our house. We used to have him over. He came out every Friday night. He knocks on the door. My wife opens. Doesn't say a word. Just walks in. Takes out a pot. He walks into the kitchen. He takes out a pot. It was a Thursday night. He starts cutting the fruits. And he made a compote. Yeah. My wife was mortified. In my house, in the Bronx. Yeah, in the Bronx. The Bronx. My wife. Anyway, but I see Moshe Shabbos. I said, what's going on? I said, okay, listen, Moshe, you can come make a compote as much as you want. There's two things. First is when you come into the house, my wife puts soap on your hand. The rest, shenalainton. But you have to go like this. My wife will put soap on your hand. And then you have to wash the fruits. Okay, he would come Thursday night, go like this. My wife would put a lot of soap. And then he had to wash till his hands are clean. And whatever, if he washed the fruits, he didn't wash the fruits. He got it from the garbage outside the fruit store. Yeah, he got it from the garbage. And then he would cut it up. I'm telling you, it was the best compote in the world. It was the best, Avi. I'm telling you, it was the best. Whatever he, yeah, because he always lotsuka. He always put dried fruits. He put a lot of, never a drop of sugar, and it was very sweet because he put in a lot of dried fruits. I guess some stores throw out everything he got from the garbage. Ken. Huh? There was the spike. Yeah, it was really good. My wife didn't.
Another story about the troll that the guy was eating it. Didn't want to eat it, so he put it in food.
So, Besudas Alayla Arishan, the Rosh Hashanah Mishnah, Tavshin Ches, Sholach the Masubim. Yecholim lotzes bevichel beire preich, oisem ala papua, gam leachilas a kampoch beseif asuda. Maar mereats eiship, loizu bevat shecholim ala shekach tzrichem lasses lecham lotzes. Betir Sudas Alayla Arishan, the Rosh Hashanah Tavshin Shechazayin Nema. Hoyt Kedushas Admoir, Lokach atapuach b'chot hachaticha tovel b'dvash v'sachaticha shenoiser nich b'kora shel aliftan shel seif asuda b'seif asuda ochel b'tchilas atapuach v'achkechas aliftan v'loi berech al aliftan. Exactly. Okay, so I want to make a little bit of a seder in what's going on over here, and this guy asks, "What's the pilpul over here?" Okay, so the kid said at Varnas like this. In Siman Tov and Gimel, the Tur brings a problem that the Toysus has, a machloitis in the Balai Toysus. There's some Balai Toysus that say that you should make Boide Priyadama on the karpas and have in mind the karpas and the motor both. The other Balai Toysus say that's not going to help. It's not going to help. Why? Because the Haggadah is too much of a hefsek. So even though you had in mind when you made Boide Priyadama for the karpas and the motor, it's not going to help. It's not going to help. They have a different solution. They say because it's bottled to the sudas, so it doesn't matter. And they say you have to eat the after you wash and you eat the motor is already bottled to the suda. And the other shit says no, the motor is not bottled to the suda. So it's like everything is. So we accommodate all shittas. We make Boide Priyadama, and we have in mind also the motor. but we eat less than a kazai, so there's no way to make it. All complicated. But the bottom line is, this one opinion holds that you make and you have in mind the karpas and the mor. And the other opinion says, no, there's too much going on in between. The bracha doesn't carry over. So we see that there's an issue here. So maybe that was the issue the Frierdiker Rebbe had. That in the beginning of the meal, the tapuach is no shaykhs to the meal, really. So you make a better priya. It's not mamash achelik, it's of the suda. It's not like the fish inflation. You have to make a seven. Then you eat a whole suda. Then at the end, you're having kampot. So maybe that was his problem. So what's the eitzah? So the eitzah was to have the fetish in mind. And he figured that that's good enough. It's not like the Haggadah. The Haggadah, it's not going to help even if you have a middle because it's much more of a hefsek. But over here, if you have in mind, that's good enough. And the Rebbe was moisef another trick, that he left a piece of the tapuach on the table. Because yesterday we went through, the Alter Rebbe says that when you make a Beit Piyatz, the Alter Rebbe says there's 3 levels. There's apples to oranges, or apples to pomegranate, and apples to honey. If you have an apple, you make a eitz, even though you finish an entire apple, you could ever have a second apple with the same eitz. If you have an apple, then a pomegranate. If a piece of the apple is left on the table, that covers also the pomegranate. If you have, say, before the meal, before you make a moitz, you have apple dipped in honey, and then your wife brings you from the kitchen another jar of honey. So no, it does. Even if the apple is still here, unless it was on the table, the fetish had in mind. So the Frierdiker Rebbe just said 1 eitzah from the 3 eitzahs is good enough, and that was moisef for himself. Not only that he had the fetish in mind, but he also kept a piece on the table. So that was so the mela. And why? And the other sicha was that the Frierdiker Rebbe ate the fruit. It was the second night, and he ate the fruit before the meal started. So over there is where he had in mind not to be yoytz of the kampot, because then it's even a bigger hefsek before the meal. So yeah, it's already so far. It's not considered a bracha she'ena tzricha in his mind. That's it. So that's why it's not a stira between 2 sichas. The best way, he couldn't finish the fruit or something. The best thing is the second night of Rosh Hashanah is to make a eitz on the fruit, and then to eat a full shear of a kazais, and then to make a boid on the foshes, or if it's from the shivas aminim, to make ala eitz or whatever, ala pedis. But it could be the Frierdiker Rebbe ate less than the shear. So now it was so he just said simple. I'm having in mind not to be yoytze the kampot and ending. No, in Chabad, second night you eat the fruit before you wash. First night it's in the suda. So that's why the first night it's yeah. The reason is the first night, I know, it's very annoying. It's very annoying. The first night, it's in the meal. You make it.
And the reason why
is because it's part of the meal. It's a simon toiv that we eat. You wash, you make a moitzi, you dip the chal in the honey, and then you have the apple and the honey. Why? Because this meal has a lot of good simon, and we're starting with the apple, and then it's going to be the fish and the head of the fish and second night, we made shechionu and kiddush. So really, we had in mind when we said shechionu on the fruits. So why delay? Do right away. That when you think about the logic of it, you'll remember why the minig. But the first night it's a chelik in the suda, and the second night it's not new with the suda. It's just that you made shechionu and kiddush, or by lichbenchen. So therefore, the fruit you eat it as soon as possible, and then you make it burn in the foshes. Huh? It's the same thing. He has in mind the fruit. The best thing is the fruits on the table, but if not, whatever he has it in mind. So the mela is hakal al makoim mayover b'sholom. The second night, you just eat the fruit. And the best thing is to bake a burn the flashes. And the first night, it's in the meal. So you have in mind also for the fruits that will be at the end of the suda. Fedish you have in mind. And the Rebbe had an extra kunz that he kept a piece of the apple because that also helps. The Rebbe had this extra thing. Not only had in mind that the butter creates and the apple and honey is going to have also for the fruits at the end of the meal, but he actually kept a piece of that apple on the table. So that was an extra thing to show that the eitz is for both of them. The Eibishter will help that this year that we have a lot of sour stuff that we need to sweeten over here. We have a lot of sour stuff that we need to sweeten. that we should sweeten it. It should be unbelievable. Say it. But the best Sache is that we should sweeten it. We should sweeten it. The taka zayin, if I'm right or wrong, but I think it's a beautiful remez anyway. That the tapuach is first. We have to see every yid with such an eye. The mamish and night of Rosh Hashanah, we ayin toiva. Every yid is an apple and honey. And when we start the year like this, it's going to be a sweet year. David shall help and taka that we should have a tzivos toiva and Hashanah toiva m'sukim.
Amen.
Thank you for joining.
There's one other thing that you can bench and then eat the pot. Then you make the weights. After you bench, a lot of people have dessert after.
Yeah, true. I don't know why they didn't do that, but that's a good question. That's another eitzah. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank for joining us.
Thank you, Rabbi. You should have a good year, sweet year.
Oh, good and sweet year.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful words what you said. Thank you so much. Have a look at each yid with a sweet eye.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. God bless you.
Okay. It's so sweet to see you. We haven't seen you in a long time.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay. Baruch Hashem. Pretty good. Yeah. Baruch Hashem.
Okay. Shataka have a Shona Toivo Mesuka.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Good night.